What's up, guys? Thanks for being with me for another review for Star Wars The Mandalorian. We're now on episode 4 now, The Sanctuary. Another solid episode, but I'm about to get into my spoiler-free part of the video, so let me do that right now. This episode this week was definitely a little more down to earth than the episodes we have been getting. 3 episodes back to back, we were building up to was he going to turn into a little baby Yoda, and now we're coming here where they're trying to escape the planet, and things have kind of toned down. They're trying to find a place to settle in, and from my perspective, I would say this is probably the most human, just down to earth episode, and maybe just some of the most human and down to earth Star Wars we've got. But definitely a good episode. It's going to set up things we're going to see in the future with certain characters. So definitely check it out. But it's not as action packed as some of the ones that we have been watching leading up to it. All right, now to the spoiler part. So this episode is, we pick up where we left off, where Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian are leaving the planet. They're searching for somewhere to find, and they find this planet they come across. It seems like it has, a population that's kind of scattered, and the Empire shouldn't be looking there. And so Mando decides, hey, this is where we're gonna hang out for a few months. Relax and see what we can do. We also get that scene beforehand. We know as the audience that there is pirates around. Who knows how threatening they are? But they are, scavenging some of these villages around, and the villagers don't feel safe. So we get to see all that. But one thing I did want to mention, again, I don't really recap the episode step by step. I come in with the expectation that you guys have already seen the episode, so I can just kind of talk about different things that caught my attention, and what we might be looking at moving forward. So the first thing I want to talk about actually is the planet itself. We hear Mando say this is real low-key planet. No one should be able to find us here. But I think there are some hints that maybe there's a little more to the planet than meets the eye, or at least what the Mandalorian would know. The first hint is just that the pirates do have an ATST there. I don't think they would have the technology to transport this thing from another world to another. Based off what we see. How did this get there? Was there at one point there an Imperial presence there? And if so, what was the case? Is there just, is there Kyber there? Is there something they want to harvest? Is there just something there that they were at one point looking into? And then secondly, the woman that helps the Mandalorian, that almost takes off his helmet in this episode. She's good with the blaster. Like, she's really proficient. She knows how to use that thing. Like, where did she learn those skills? Growing up there, was there another point for her village that they really had to fight, or was she an outsider at one point that she came to this village from another planet somehow, and just kind of adapted their ways and grew up there? Just something we may not know, and considering that we're probably going to see her again, that they had an ATST, maybe something did happen on this planet or with her. This is just speculating in the past that may come up in the future. Just something to think about. Next, we finally meet Cara Dune, the female character that's been on a lot of the advertisement and marketing for the show. She's an ex-rebel, shock trooper is what they call her, and I was a little unfamiliar with that exact line of rebel, but she was a rebel. She cleaned up after Endor, and she found herself on this planet. We're not too sure what caused her to live in isolation and why people are after her, why the guild might be after her, but she's a tough girl. She really made her mark in this episode. I don't really have too much speculation in terms of that we may see more of her past, and that may tie into things that come up in the future. But other than just her being a solid character that can whoop some ass, I don't have too much that I think about her moving forward, or what I think about her past too much. Again, this show, from what we're seeing here, it's a lot different than what we thought. This was someone that we were thinking was going to be in a lot of the episodes as we went along, but she stops in this episode, and she probably won't be in the next one. She might come up later, but who knows when we'll see her again. And I don't mind this at all. I like what they're doing here. Grief Karga the same way. We know we're going to see him again. He wasn't in this episode. The Mandalorians that we saw at the end of episode 3, I'm sure they'll pop up in the next episode or so. Where are they gonna relocate now that they can't be on that planet there because they've exposed themselves? So that's all interesting stuff. But for her specifically, we'll just have to wait and see, I guess, what they're gonna do with her. All right, now let's touch on Baby Yoda and the Mando for a little bit. We've seen their relationship really develop. I'm really starting to enjoy it. Baby Yoda's just really really cute, and I called it after the first episode or so that they're gonna let this child develop, and we see him, playing with the kids, and the Mandalorian kind of being like, hey, like, y'all better be careful, y'all know what he can do, like, be careful. And the girl's like, no, she'll be fine, and she's right, like, he's a little baby, he's gonna be fine playing with the kids, he can take care of himself. He's not, again, he's a lot more competent than he appeared when we first saw him as this just baby. He can walk around, he can eat, he can think for himself, he just can't talk yet, which I hope we get to see. You could argue that in the development of a Yoda creature that, however long the series goes, maybe a year or two, is he going to learn how to talk that fast? He's been living for 50 years. Why would these 2 years be the two that he, learns to talk? But, I mean, it'd be good to see. They can do whatever they want, I guess. But still, just seeing them develop throughout this, we see that the Mandalorian, his goal was to let him stay, let Baby Yoda stay here on the planet, and live a good life, not be under, scouted by the Empire, tested or trying to be killed. And I thought that was good to see, him just being like, I've done my duty, I've rescued, you saved my life, I put you in a great situation, and I'm gonna get out. But then we see that those tracking fobs are still tracking Baby Yoda, which is really interesting. I think from here on, I'm gonna try to have like a question of the week for the Mandalorian that'll drop kind of midweek. And I might have to do something with the fobs. A lot of people have questions about them, and I did earlier too, but it didn't really like trigger me in this episode like I've seen it do some others. I guess just because it was always a question of mine. It's like, how are they tracking him? That's always my thing. Like, how are they tracking him? Who was protecting Baby Yoda when he was in his little crib? Who were those people there? Like, it's all been a mystery to me. Like, how they knew where he was, what it was about. So maybe I'll just kind of, definitely in the comments, let me know what you guys think about that. I'll have a video later this week kind of breaking down what we know about it as much as we can and where we think it might all be headed, because it is interesting. I haven't seen anything like it in Star Wars. If you remember, when we first are introduced to this bounty, Grief Karga and the client are both like, this is untraditional. We don't have, the whatever numbers he was looking for. All they could give him was the age. And I'm wondering if everything they have is just however they're tracking him. That's all they got. They don't have, their usual, I don't know, whatever they're used to having. So it is a mystery. But I think from what the show has shown us, that they are going to address this. I don't think this is going to be unaddressed. I guess that's why I'm not really too triggered. They talk about it so much. He's clearly like been tracked differently than other bounties. Like, it's probably going to be addressed. Like, we just gotta wait on it. It could be next episode for all we know. Just for Mando, he got a lot of development here. We see that, he almost allows the woman to take off his helmet. We see him take it off in a moment of eating and just watching over, Yoda having a good time with the kids. It's gotta be a great moment for him, feel happy about what he's done. But I think there's some things we can kind of think about now with this character and, where he's at, what his past was. I think, one of the questions that popped in this episode and the last one is just how long had he been a bounty hunter? We see his interactions with the other Mandalorians, and they don't seem to want to do that bounty hunting thing because of how tied that is to the Empire and helping out things the Empire wants done. But he seems to be doing it, probably just out of necessity. He needs the money, he needs the credits. So why is he the one that's working with the bounty and the other Mandalorians aren't? He's also the one that doesn't have a jetpack. And that could be just part of being a foundling. But again, how did this all come together? What has his past really been? It's really interesting to think about maybe how long he was a bounty hunter. There's a chance it hadn't been too long, and maybe that's why the Mandalorians are so hesitant to accept. It's like, man, like, I can't believe you're doing this. We told you not to do this, and then when they see him bringing in that steel, that's maybe why that guy got so pissed, because they were probably like, this guy shouldn't even be doing this. But then they see him come back, it's like, oh, he actually did do something. That's why they started hating on him. So I'm really not sure. We're gonna get to see how things go. What his real motivations are. Just knowing that he was gonna drop off the Baby Yoda here, I think that's good for his character. But for himself, he seems to show maybe he, at some point, maybe just wants a simpler life, or at least, I don't know, just a full acceptance of his people. I mean, we'll see where all that goes. I'm not too sure just yet. But I do know an episode like this is definitely just building up whatever we see in the finale of this season, or whatever is going to ultimately happen to the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. So very interesting stuff. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe, man. I'm going to have a review for each and every Mandalorian episode. Again, this wasn't my favorite episode, but it did have a little difference of tone, which I'm enjoying. I think there is a place for this tone in Star Wars, especially when you're dealing with just these villagers and just an episode like this. you don't want necessarily this much human. When I mean by human stuff, like I think she made like a knock knock joke when she came in. She's like knock knock, and like and just little things like when they were asking them to give them credits to help their village, there were some things that are just really human, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, understand me. I think there's a place you can do that in these kind of episodes where you don't want to see this is like in The Last Jedi where Luke is teaching Rey the Force and he's joking around with the leaf, or he's joking around with his lightsaber that he hadn't seen in years. Like that stuff is like you shouldn't be playing around like that. Now, that doesn't mean Jedi can't joke around, but in some moments you need to be a little more serious and just play with the moment. Be in the moment a little better. And I think this episode is good for with these villagers. You can do this. And I think it was good to see, and hopefully we see another episode like this in the future. Not maybe in the next couple, but in the future. Once things kind of heat up again, we can kind of settle in with something like this. So again, thanks for watching, guys. I'll have a video out this week, just kind of going over a question of the week for the series. I'm really enjoying it. It's been some excellent Star Wars. We got a lot of great stuff going on with Jedi Fallen Order. The movie's less than a month away, which is crazy. So make sure you guys subscribe and like this video and check out my other videos out next time.